law, but it would be like a court of law where you have to take evidence and testimony, and the decision maker is not a judge, but the city commission or the county commission, whoever's making the decision, has to make that decision on the basis of evidence and testimony. That's what a quasi-judicial proceeding is. And there has to be good grounds. But when they put it on the consent agenda, they get to skip all that and just approve it with an aye. What I'm seeing now on the consent agenda that I think all of you should be interested in is a lot of money, our money, being spent on the consent agenda. I am seeing, and I wanted to ask Greg about this. There's a couple of items this time. One has to do with Bird Island and dredging and putting a wave attenuator. And it's a $500,000 project, and it's on the consent agenda. I mean, I would like to know what Audubon has to say about that project. Is that something that we should say, yeah, go for it? Or is it something we should say, wait a minute, should we be putting wave attenuators around Bird Island? I don't know the answer to that. Audubon should. Yeah.
Is it a rhetorical question, or would you like
to...
Well,
that's it. No, I do. I mean, it's a rhetorical question as long as it stays on the consent agenda, because nobody cares what I have to say. But if we can get it off the consent agenda and talk about it, that's what we need to do.
I'll answer it now while the topic is hot. And this is one point that I will give a plug for the county. One of the things that they have done correctly is they established something called the Spoil Island Working Group, no, the Coastal Working Group. This is a kind of subsection of the county's coastal engineering department, and they have asked for participation from a variety of stakeholders in the county to be on this committee. So I'm there representing Audubon. There's a representative from Sailfish Point. There are representatives, I think, well, from several different organizations. And so this topic has come to us, and we are indeed supportive of it. Our challenge at Bird Island, and maybe that'll be a good topic for some future discussion, is that island has been, over the years, eroding away. And so we have tried our best to come in a non-structural mode and plant the right kind of plants, mangroves, and that sort of thing to stop erosion, but unfortunately it is continuing to erode. So we have reviewed that project, and we are supportive of it for the long-term good of the island.
And that's a good thing for me to know, because that was my first question when I looked at this 90 pages of stuff. How come there's nothing in there that tells me whether Audubon is on board with this? Because if you are, then I probably am. But I'd like to know that, and that's not made available. Another one that I guess I'll ask you again. Here, oh, this is fun. This is turning into my querying Greg, but the City of Stewart had wanted to purchase, and I think the county has agreed to purchase the last part of the Haney Creek property, where the Harbor Walk development was. I now see they want to use part of that property to widen Wright Boulevard. There's wood stork nesting area there. Is that something that Audubon has gotten into, or will get into, or would get into? And shouldn't you?
We probably should. It's not one that I'm aware of, so...
Because it's on the consent agenda. I rest my case. Jensen Beach Mooring Field is a big topic right now. We have just, in the last week, filed a challenge to a proposal to put an 18-slip dock and 51 boat mooring area in the aquatic preserve in the Indian River Lagoon, where it clearly doesn't belong, at least in the view of most folks who are truly concerned about the quality of the Indian River Lagoon. Glenda Burgess is in the back. Her husband is one of the petitioners, and Tom Fullman is the other one. Tom Fullman is here as another petitioner. These are people who are stepping up to the plate. This Jensen Beach Mooring Field is a project that is going to cost $2 million in taxpayer dollars. I don't know why. All my research indicates most mooring fields run around 300,000. I'm not sure what the 2 million is for, because it's always been on the consent agenda. We were told some time ago that the project was dead. It wasn't moving forward. There was no money for it. And all the while, in the back rooms in Tallahassee or in Martin County, this project was being moved forward without any public notice, without any public participation. We literally found out about a potential approval on the very last day of the challenge period. We managed to file a challenge only by obtaining an extension of time from the DEP, which the county objected to. Most of that was on the consent agenda, and when you look at the amount of money, tax money that's involved, you have to ask, why is that on the consent agenda? That leads to the general lack of transparency that we have in government on many levels about what's being done. What's being done with our money, what's being done with our comprehensive plan, what's being done with our property, what's being done with our environment. These are all issues that the public needs to get actively involved in, and the best way to get involved is to get the information, to find out what's being done and why and how much it's costing, and then talk to people like Audubon or the River Keeper. We have these wonderful resources. We need to talk to them about whether these are the right approaches to take. We don't get that vetting on the consent agenda. I wanted to, while I'm talking about the consent agenda, and I really do want to stop so that we can have some panel questions. But on the consent agenda tomorrow are several issues involving the airport. There is an actual item on the customs office at the airport. If you don't know about that, if you haven't read up on it, please do. There are pros and cons. I personally think it's a terrible idea, and I responded to Commissioner Campy's suggestion the other day that we're sending way too many emails by going home and sending him 2 emails. And I would suggest that the rest of you might want to consider that. He literally said, enough with the emails. And I'm like, no, not enough with the emails. Our officials need to listen to us. We need to talk to them, whether it's by email, whether it's in person. I personally try to go in and see a couple of commissioners about once every month or 6 weeks, just to let them see my face. I make a little list, never about anything in particular. I make a little list of things that are important to me and important to people I know. I encourage you all to do that. You know, we're paying our commissioners to listen to us, and they get a good amount of money to talk with us. And my commissioners that I speak with, Commissioner Fielding, Commissioner Hurd, and on the city level, Commissioner McDonald, never turn me away. They sit and they listen to me talk and talk and talk, and they make notes, and sometimes they tell me I'm crazy, and sometimes they don't. But they listen, and that's all we can ask for. So please, talk to your commissioners. Call them up. They all have executive aides, except for Commissioner McDonald, who sits in the cheap seats in the city of Stewart. But you can email him. Make an appointment. Go in and talk to him. Let him know what's on your mind, even if it's a little tiny thing, or if it's a big thing, if it's a state issue, if it's a local issue. Let him see your face. Let him know who you are and that you care about your community. We all know that. But let's speak up, speak out. Let's live up to Mr. Justice Murphy's confidence in the value of being not only organizers, but activists. Thanks.